Hello, everyone. The title of this video is What Doesn't Exist is Not Necessary. And this sounds very philosophical, which it is. And it doesn't come from me, actually. It comes from one of my granddaughters, who is not yet 8 years old. Those who know me well know that at this section of my life, my two granddaughters are bringing me light and love, and those are the most important people in my life at this age and this stage. And especially I love them dearly, both of them, but I have a very special relationship with the older one. I'm teaching her all kinds of stuff, not just tarot and astrology, but also knitting and how to crochet, how to make your own clothes. And this was the reason why we were talking. I was telling her how, as I was teaching her how to knit, and she's now knitting all kinds of stuff for her dolls. And I was telling her my life, my early life, how poor we were. Anyone who wants socialism or communism, please come to me. I will tell you what it is, what it does to the human soul, and how this equality or equity is really destroying everything human. And for those who think that, oh, because the previous things were not yet the real one, but now we are going to do the real one. Thank you. No, we don't want this. Okay. I'm not saying that capitalism is any better, but at least there I have free enterprise, and I can do whatever I want, and no one else is telling me what to do. Whereas in a communistic, socialistic way, yes, people are taking your wealth and telling you what to do. Thanks, but no thanks. Anyhow, so I was describing her life at that stage, and I also told her that we're making our own clothes. That's how I'm still able to make my own clothes, and there may come a time when we again have to do that, because the powers that be won't allow us to buy, which is not such a big deal. You can learn it. It's actually fun, but of course it's easier to go into a shop and buy things that you don't need. And it's very interesting, because that's when she said this deeply philosophic sentence: what doesn't exist is not necessary. And it's very, very true if you come to think of it. And later on, I was preparing this video, and I decided to use the title, because this is something that we are learning at the moment. This is not the chart. Hold on. This is it. So on November the 7th, in the small hours, how do I get rid of this somehow? Anyhow, so this is not going away, and hopefully, no, this is not what I wanted. Okay, I got rid of this ribbon with Zoom, which is always making my life difficult, because I don't know how to get rid of it, but finally it went away. So in the small hours of November the 7th in Budapest or in London, you will have an exact, to the minute, exact Mercury, Neptune, water trine, and a little bit separated, but still very, very tight, Venus, Pluto, Earth trine. And the reason why I selected this particular moment when Mercury and Neptune are making the trine, the exactness of the trine, because Venus was rising in the Budapest chart, and because the moon was crossing over these three objects, three strong women. Let's take a look at that first, because the moon, as it went into Virgo, was crossing, or will be crossing over, the three wife archetypes. These all are wives. Think about this. Juno is the something went into my mouth. Anyhow, Juno is the wife of Jupiter, so she's the first lady. And then Pluto is the wife of Pluto, another wife archetype that is important, but she keeps her freedom, and she's moving freely between the worlds and between the dimensions. And then Black Moon Lilith, well, Lilith is also the first wife of Adam. And she, of course, leaves the Garden of Eden, so she practically leaves Adam. But still, there are three very, very different wife archetypes. And of course, a marriage contract or any type of other contract also signifies sorts of liaisons, types of liaisons. And now the moon is crossing over them. Out of Juno, Pluto, and Black Moon, Juno is the fastest. So now it's already separating. And Black Moon and Trans Pluto are kind of together still. It's a very tight conjunction. The Vesta Austria conjunction is now doubly separating because Vesta was turning retrograde. At the moment, there's a 4-degree orb between the two. You can still focus on karma breaking and destiny changing, but this window is slowly closing. So there's still time to learn about it if you want to. And Dark Moon Lilith is at the very end of Taurus, while Sedna is at the very beginning of Gemini, retrograding back into Taurus in a couple of weeks. I think 2 weeks, maybe 3, something like that. Anyhow, so there's a very tight conjunction in separate signs, in 2 signs. And we are going to concentrate on Dark Moon at the moment, because that is what we need to look at, because that forms a grand trine with Venus and Pluto. And Mercury Ceres, of course, is the nurturing principle. This is a separating conjunction. And the Sun Mars is an applying conjunction. We are going to look at it when it happens in like a week's time. After the new moon, you will have the Sun Mars conjunction. And this year's main karmic astrological feature is the North Node Aries conjunction in Aries. And Aries means drastically altered outward circumstances, and the North Node is what we need to learn as a destiny choice at the moment. We need to fight under such circumstances. We need to learn to stand up for ourselves. This is the time to learn about it. And the South Node denotes what we bring in from previous incarnations. We bring in the ability to reconcile things, the ability to look at something with a cool and rational way, trying to shut out emotions and actually trying to reconcile things in a practical matter. And then you have Pallas Athena there, which lends wisdom to the space-time moment. So this is it. Actually, you can also say that wisdom is opposed to chaos, drastically altered outward circumstances, and it is linked to our destiny choices. So that's the space-time moment. And let's take a look at the 2 trines and what the 2 trines are doing. As you can see in the Budapest chart, we have an exact grand cross at the very last sign of the mutable signs, last degree of the mutable signs. We're not going to deal with that degree, and we're not going to do anything about it. I just wanted you to see that, yes, it is there. And as you can see, the Mercury-Neptune trine occurs at 25 degrees and the Venus-Pluto at 28 degrees. So there's a 3 to 3.5 degree orb between the two. And in traditional astrology, that wouldn't be a problem. They would probably intertwine them. I never do that. So I'm just going to show you how this looks like when we intertwine the 2 structures and the accompanying patterns. But let's take a look at the 2 trines first. Well, with Mercury, Neptune, this is a water trine. So out of the trines, there are 4 trines, of course, with the 4 elements. And trines are admittedly lazy patterns. Yes, they bring harmony and blessings, but they don't manifest if you don't do something about them, something serious. If you start utilizing the trines, they work brilliantly, but they can just make you very, very lazy, and you can neglect them completely. And out of the 4, admittedly, the Earth trines will more or less manifest by themselves, or easy. That's the easiest to manifest even by themselves. The water trines simply bring you emotions and empathy. But in this case, Mercury and Neptune are important for us because these are the 2 light planets. To me, it's always amazing how whenever I go a little bit deeper and I try to philosophize on a placement or on a planet, those videos don't really, they're not really liked so much. Of course, there's a huge difference between my English and my Hungarian audience, so to speak, because my English videos get like 200, maybe 300 views, whereas the Hungarian ones get like a couple of thousand, sometimes even 10,000 views. But that's life. And of course, I'm just a minor astrologer among the many great astrologers who speak English, and I'm trying my best, but that's it. But anyhow, so there was a video on Mercury and Neptune, the two light planets. So if you want to check it out, it's out there in my channel, because these are the two light planets, because Mercury is the closest to the sun. So it is really submerged in the energy and light of and brilliance of the sun. So this is the normal human enlightenment, so to speak. And then you have Neptune, which is the farthest of the planets. Let's also add at the moment, because a lot of people say about the potential that there's another giant planet out there in the outskirts of the solar system. It hasn't yet been spotted, but they calculated that something must be there. I don't know. I'm not an expert of these things. I doubt it. They would have found it. If there's a really giant thing out there, they would have found it by now. But of course, we will see. But at the moment, Neptune is the farthest, which means it's the closest to universal energies, universal enlightenment, universal illumination. And now the two light planets are combined in a water trine. So that is quite significant for us. This is of course, in a day or two, it will be separating completely, but still, we can still utilize it. And then we have a Venus-Pluto trine. And my master Judy Hall called Venus-Pluto aspects the emotional black hole. Those who have any type of Venus-Pluto aspect will feel that they never get enough love, they never get enough emotional attention. Even though this is a trine, so it should be working brilliantly. And Venus also is a money planet, of course. It's money, harmony, love, the potential to create all these. And Pluto, of course, is the planet of transformation. Yes, in the mundane sense, this means dirty money or money under the table. It's so fascinating to me how the US Congress is now trying to aid both Ukraine and Israel, of course, and how they are trying, the Democrats want this in a one package, so that they can fund Zelensky further, which is a completely horribly stupid task, to say the least. I don't know whether it reached the mainstream media, the legacy media in the United States, but there was a German magazine had an interview with Schröder, who used to be the Chancellor of Germany now, and he was talking about, it was a week ago maybe, and he was talking about the fact that there were peace talks at the very, very beginning of the war between Zelensky and Putin, and they almost signed a treaty, but the Americans didn't allow it. And the treaty would have said that Ukraine doesn't become a NATO member, and that they will hold a referendum and they will give autonomy to the Russian population in the eastern part of Ukraine. And how many dead people are we after this treaty that fell through? 500,000? 500,000 people died totally unnecessarily, cruelly and unnecessarily, because the United States was arrogant enough to not allow this treaty. Think about that. It's disgusting and horrible at the same time. Anyhow, but now, of course, their attention is divided, because Israel, of course, is very important to the United States. And so if Israel falls, they won't have any say in the Near East. So it will be interesting to watch what they are going to do. Anyhow, so that's Venus-Pluto right there, with this ulterior motive of money under the table, so to speak. And then there's also Dark Moon Lilith. You can see that I left out Sedna, because Sedna is still in Gemini, and I wanted to have this clean energy pattern here, but if it is truly energetic, it's at 9 degrees 39, while Venus is not yet energetic. It takes half a day before it becomes energetic, and 1.5 days before it moves into Libra. And as soon as it moves into Libra, it will be aligned with one of the key celestial areas, the supergalactic center, which denotes the dilemma of nothing is ever enough. So it will be interesting to see. Okay, so we are not going to deal with the ground cross, but we are going to look at the ground trine at the end of the Earth signs. And this gives me occasion to talk about a newly named centaur, a newly named TNO, Kagara, in a minute. I did this separately in the Hungarian version because I for some reason, my Hungarian versions are always much longer than English, at least sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes longer. And it was way too long for people to watch. But I'm trying to do this in this particular video. On Pluto, you have Odin and Amicus. Odin, of course, is the chief god of Norse mythology, and Amicus I talked about it many times. It is one of the centaurs that fights with any type of weapon. We no longer have warriors there, so we lost this mitigated or unpunished mitigated punishment or unpunished deeds, but we still have Amicus there, which means fighting with any kind of sacred or dirty methods in order to win. And then on dark moon, you have Hungaria. Hungary is important, of course, for us. More Somnos, which was very prominent during the pandemic. And again, it comes up. So rest assured, there will be a sequel to the pandemic, another maybe more deadly or whatever. So we need to brace ourselves. And then Pelion, which is the mountain of life, which you need to climb and conquer. And of course, the Pleiades, which will be there with Sedna for the next 2 years. And this is Kagara on Venus, which I'm going to introduce you in a minute. And there's also a karmic platform. And this karmic platform is not exactly a trapeze, because it's very whenever you see a trapeze with two semi-sextiles at the sides, that is more a platform and not really a trapeze. So it's like something that you can step on and say what you need to say. And as you can look at, the insides are two quincunxes. One is between Mercury and the North Node Astrea. So you can actually learn Mercury consciously about what you need to do in order to fight in such circumstances. And then the Neptune Pallas Athena. Again, Pallas Athena is another communication planet here, or celestial object. It's the feminine pair of Mercury, and it makes now a Neptune quincunx. So Neptune actually gets two communication planets, and this enlightenment gets rational. So that's the platform. And here, the transcendental celestial objects are quite revealing again. On the North Node, you have Amenhotep, who is a pharaoh who formed the 12th dynasty. So it's not just a pharaoh, but also a dynasty starter. Develop children, and then you can start a dynasty. And Panacea, which means universal healing practices. On the South Node, Pallas Athena, you have Sappho. I explained this in an earlier video, I think the last one, that Sappho is linked not to mass suicide per se, but to mass crossing of souls. So it's prominent in the charts of people who are at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and die in a mass, so in bigger quantities, so that they can cross over. And that's exactly what's happening in the world if you look around. Not just earthquakes, but the war and the Hamas and Israeli attacks, vice versa. And there are two stars, Arcturus and Spica. Arcturus is the alpha star of Boots, and it is a fifth dimensional world where abused children's souls are being healed. And Spica is the right hand of the celestial maiden, and it's the giving, it's the life-giving hand, it's the nurturing hand, where it holds the wheat sheaf. And then on Mercury, you have a number of asteroids, and actually Deucalion is not a star; it is a TNO. So this should be blue, but I didn't have the time to correct it. So this is blue. And there's Osiris, Hidalgo, Kant, and Demeter. So we have a philosopher, a mother goddess, the Egyptian lord of the underworld, and Hidalgo is a revolutionary priest. That's what you see in the word, by the way. And Deucalion is Deucalion is according to the myth, he is the son of Prometheus, and he and his wife are the sole survivor of the lute that Zeus produces, because he wants to get rid of the old mankind. We were too terrible for him. And so Deucalion means to be chosen for a task, and also it also describes survival skills, which we all will need very soon, I think. And here's the Kagara, the latest named TNO. Its orbital period is 290 years, and it has a moon. It's a binary object, and I don't know how to pronounce these African names, because in African languages you have a lot of explosives and a lot of very funny pronunciation, which we Europeans don't even know how to do. But anyhow, so the exclamation mark always shows that you need to utter something with force. So it's a binary object, and it's named after a hero in the South African mythology, the Siam people who have this hero who is fighting a very epic war with his brother-in-law, Haunu. So the two of them, these are the binaries. And it is linked to the way they are fight, they are summoning winds and thunder and lightning and torrential rains, and so they are summoning the elements. So it probably the delineation of this particular TNO will be linked to the elements of weather. It's not the only one. We have some similar, like Huya, for instance, is a very similar, although that is linked to magic, also dark magic. And we don't know yet. It has just barely named really a couple of months ago. It was discovered on March 11th, 2005, and the discovery degree is the last degree of Leo, 29 degrees 16, as far as I remember, and it was retrograde at its spotting. And okay, what did I do? No, okay, and that means that it was also at its discovery, it was aligned with Regulus, the alpha star of Leo. So discovery degrees are always important because they function as some kind of significator as well. Of course, we won't know its return to its discovery position, because no one of us lives until 290 years. But it will be interesting to see, to watch this new TNO. Why is it important? And this is something that is the basis of transcendental karmic astrology. And if we look back at the title of the video and what my granddaughter said, she said that something that doesn't exist is not necessary. And the other way around is also relevant, because what exists and what we realize it exists becomes necessary. That's the essence of new discoveries. Whenever mankind discovers a new object, it is ready to incorporate or absorb that particular archetype. So there's a new archetype, a new boy out there, so to speak, and we are going to watch it, because and I'm totally not on the same platform with some American astrologers, some famous ones who don't want to look at the mythology and the name, and they try to observe these newly discovered and named celestial objects, and then they come up with all kinds of ideas and suggestions, which then have no sense at all, where you have a tool. For instance, anyone who gets a name also gets some sort of destiny. When you name something, you give it a destiny, and that destiny is then coming back to you in certain forms of events. So it's much easier to look at the mythology and then look at the name and then see what crops up whenever it is tightly conjunct anything in a natal chart. So try to observe it. At the moment, it's at 27 degrees Virgo. So in 20 years, it moved about a sign less than a sign. So watch it and see what it brings to you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.